Hey, thank you. Thank you so much, Val. Hey, well, I really appreciate you guys being able to open your church. You know, it's one of those things that there's not, it's been tough as a former youth pastor to see a lot of churches being weak. Can we be real for a second? Okay. It's driving me nuts. And so I am so thankful for your guys' church. I want you to know that because, you know, a few weeks ago, thank you. Yeah, a few weeks ago when you guys were one of the only churches in the area that was willing to host Charlie Kirk because all the other churches were like, you know, we really appreciate Charlie and what he stands for, and we want to come to the event, but we're worried that the next day our church is going to get burnt down by Antifa. Stop living in fear. Where are the people with the boldness? So it brings me hope for the future. I got 3 kids. I've lived in Oregon my entire life, and I'm not going to let a bunch of communists take over this state, right? Yeah. So it brings me joy to come together with a bunch of these freedom-loving Americans, God-fearing patriots. And so, you know, last night we were in Eugene. We were at Along Came Trudy's. I don't know if you've ever gone there before, but it's an amazing place. They'll never make you wear a mask. And she's one of the few businesses that in Eugene that's been standing up and saying, we're not going to mask our people. They're trying to take her licenses away, but she's standing up and being brave. So definitely go support Along Came Trudy's in Eugene. But you know, yeah, it just brings me hope to come to a church to see people that are fired up for the state, fired up for our God-given freedoms. And so that's one of the things that I have the honor and blessing of going around Oregon and working with students, supporting them, tabling with them, giving them the resources, helping them with grants and other events to be able to stand up, educate students, and talk about why America is the best country on earth, okay? And so when we get these students together, you know, we do some fun things. We've had airsoft and paintball events, and then we tell students why the Second Amendment's important. You know, it's a fun time. Students come together, they shoot each other, and then we're like, yeah, we learned something about the Constitution. So, you know, and so, you know, we want to be educating these students on these values. And so Turning Point got started from Charlie Kirk many years ago. I don't know if you guys know who Charlie is, but he's a great God-fearing man and has been speaking up. And we also just started Turning Point Faith this last year. And so we've been getting active in the churches and having people register to vote. You'd be surprised how many people aren't registered to vote. And I have students who are, you know, they're over the age of 18, they're excited politically, and then I'm like, are you registered to vote? No. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, and okay, well, we can talk about the voter fraud at another time. Okay, that's a whole other issue. But it's still trying to get students registered to vote, getting them involved, and, you know, speaking out against some of the indoctrination that's going on at the universities. Now, I want to say, Corbin University is one of the few universities in the state that still has joy in the presence of the university, okay? Corbin, George Fox, those 2 schools, in my opinion, I travel to all the different high schools and universities. Those are the 2 universities that I would say, if you have a son or daughter and you're like, I want them to go to university somewhere nearby, I would say go to those schools. And you can talk to other students here, but as I've traveled around the state, you know, we were at U of O yesterday. We went to Bushnell, which they claim not to be a Christian university anymore, according to the pastor there that works at the university. Because he overheard me say something about it being a Christian university. And he looked at me, he goes, we're not a Christian university. A university can't be Christian. I go, well, didn't you guys just have chapel and do communion? And he goes, well, yeah. I go, then you're a Christian university. And he was like, well, we don't want to, you know, push people away who want to come and learn about other things. And I'm like, I go, it's a slippery slope. I go, I'm going to come back here in 2 years and you guys won't be having chapel anymore because it just keeps going downhill from here. And he kind of was like, yeah, I see what you're saying. Because all the other universities that they change their names, they take chapel out. And I'm like, come on, we got to start being bold. We got to start standing up for these rights. So you got a university here. You got to talk about that later, okay? Tell people about that later, please. And so yeah, when we were at U of O, there's just no joy there. And it's like, we're trying to, you know, hand flyers out. We're like, hey, free event tonight. We're not even saying about what it is. Hey, free event tonight. This girl literally barked at one of the students like a dog, and we just started laughing. Because, you know, like, one of the things is people around are looking and seeing how we respond to them. And if we respond with laughter and joy and having a good time and it's just like, oh my goodness, people are going to see like, hey, we're the ones that are still happy, even though things might not be going the way we want it to go. We still have joy. And so, I just want to continue to encourage you. I'm excited for Cary and Heather to come and encourage you as well. Tonight's all about just being brave and being bold and standing up for what's right, because there needs to be more people here in Oregon that are doing that. And I'm so happy to see all of you here that are coming here to hear about that and to learn about that. To hear from Cary. My dad was someone who watched CNN for many years, and like a frog in boiling water, slowly got turned up and didn't realize. And I've had conversations with him about policies versus the character of things, and the character that they put out in the media. And so I'm excited for Cary to share about his experience in media, and it's going to be a powerful time. And so with that said, I just want to encourage you guys, if you know students in the area that they love America, they want to stand up for our God-given rights, please, let's work to get them involved, to support them. We want to be able to support them. We have lots of great activities and grants available for students. We have America Fest coming up in December. It's like the Coachella of conservative conferences, okay? But like not like all the girls running around with very little clothes. It's not going to be like that. Most people look like they're from Yellowstone, okay? Like, let's be real. It's going to be a good time. So you're going to want to be there. And yeah, it's a great conference. What's awesome too about that is I know there's students here that are going. Raise your hand if you're going to America Fest. Chris, I know Isabella is over here. You guys are going, yes. And so it's a great conference to be able to come together with thousands of other patriots from all over the U.S. and students their age to go, I'm not alone in this fight. Because that's one of the things I love, being able to go to a university. I set up a table with, different conservative values. A student walks up and they're like, oh my gosh, I thought I was the only one at this university that felt this way. And I'll pull out a stack of cards of other students that have signed up, and I go, you're not alone. There are other students here, and it's just such a joy to bring these students together. When there's been students like Blake, who was at U of O, he's the chapter president. The week before we met, he was thinking of leaving. He didn't want to go to University of Oregon anymore. But then he found a group of other like-minded friends, and he stayed, and he started to stand up for what was right. And he tables next to the Democrat Socialist Club on campus. Okay, so it's a good time. So yeah, I would just encourage you, if there's students that want to get involved, feel free to go on to turningpoint.tpusa.com and let them get involved, as well as your guys' church. If you want to bring Turning Point Faith to the region here, we'd love to be able to support you guys in that, help get people registered to vote and all of that. So with that said, I want to introduce Heather. Heather is from Eugene, and she has been standing up for her freedoms and her rights. And she is someone who's been supporting Turning Point, been standing up, helping some of the different events, coming to our events. And so would you give it up for Heather? Come on up, Heather.
Hi there, my name is Heather. I'm the Turning Point campus coordinator for the Eugene area. I'm also a real estate agent, and since the topic of tonight is whistleblowing, I'll let you in on a project that I've been working on. So if you don't know my story, I've been the center of controversy for about 2 years now, continuously. So the summer of 2020, I was doxxed, and I was smeared as a racist, and my personal information, my phone number, my address, my workplace was given to local and national hate groups. I was getting calls from people all over the country telling me to kill myself, that they're gonna kill me, every threat you can think of. And then shortly after, I was fired for refusing to apologize to people who were actively trying to destroy my life. And they actually, after I was fired, the mob followed me to 3 different brokerages, harassing my bosses until they had no choice but to fire me. I eventually found a principal broker, a boss that stood up for me and told them, no, I'm not going to fire her because you think I should. And so things have worked out for me. Thank you. And so I sort of took that as a sign that I'm not really meant to stay quiet and live the 9-to-5 life. I'm an activist and I'm outspoken, and they just lit a fire in my belly. That's all they did. And so this last summer, I started noticing that the real estate industry was getting more and more progressive, more and more woke. And they started doing things like banning love letters. If you don't know what love letters are, if you're a home buyer and you're looking for a home, there's multiple offers on a home that you love, you can write a letter to the seller telling the seller how much you love the home, all your dreams for it, maybe even send them a picture of your family, try and pull on their heartstrings a little bit. Well, the Oregon Real Estate Agency banned that because they think that you, as homeowners, as sellers, that you are too racist to receive a love letter from a buyer who wants your house. That you are so bigoted that you will automatically choose the straight white family and not choose the highest and best offer or the family that you truly believe deserves to live in your home after you. And then another thing that I noticed that I assume was passed at the same time that this love letter ban was passed is I noticed there was a change in the curriculum for the licensing courses because I was renewing my license this summer. And when I was going through the course, I noticed a quote in it that sort of struck me, and it was appalling. And the quote was, "A white American cannot be a target of racism because white Americans control the majority vote and can change any laws that harm them." And then I continued reading on, and it was talking about George Floyd, it was talking about intersectionality and reasons for affirmative action, and I was just thinking, what does any of this have to do with real estate? I'm supposed to be renewing my real estate license. And we have fair housing laws, and those fair housing laws enforce ethical behavior in agents, but this had nothing to do with fair housing. This was just about hating white people. And it quite literally was demonizing white people in this course. And so I got on the phone with a lawyer and started asking. I showed him the course material, I showed him all the content and the documents, and asked if I could sue the Oregon Real Estate Agency. And he said yes. And he was so excited about the case that he took it pro bono. And so my next move was that I wanted to gather other real estate agents who were also against it, because as far as I knew, I was the only agent that was publicly speaking out against the course. The only agent in Oregon that I knew of. And so I went on the Lars Larson show to talk about the case and talk about the course content, and from that I was able to get a nice handful of agents who are also against the course. And so I was able to build a list of agents who want to back me in this in case it turns into a class action lawsuit. And then not shortly after I was on Lars Larson and was able to announce the lawsuit against them, another brokerage announced that they are suing the Oregon Real Estate Agency over the love letter ban to try and fight for your guys' right to advocate for yourself for the house that you want. And being a part of doing these things and being part of a turning point is such a solid foundation if you are going to be, well, what feels like fighting the world. And it is the turning point is the resource that I wish I had when I was in high school. When I was in high school, I did not care about Justin Bieber or One Direction. When I was 16, I was campaigning for Rand Paul. I literally printed out flyers at my house, and then I started going to the neighborhoods and handing out little brochures that I made by hand. And that didn't swing well with my friends in high school. And let me just let you in on how terrible I was at choosing friends in high school. Because I didn't have Turning Point to help me find friends. I grew up in Washington, and I went to high school in Washington. Who remembers Chaz, the forceful takeover of Seattle? I can personally name participants in Chaz because they were my friends in high school. And I would sit with them every day at lunch. I'd go to the park with them. I'd hang out with them. We'd debate until we were all blue in the face because I am who I am, and they were who they are. But if you are, or if you have teens that are weird like me, who who watch Fox News the way normal people watch football, then please join a Turning Point chapter. Talk to Austin; he's an amazing resource. Or talk to me if you're in the Eugene area, and start coming to the events and go. See if you can go to AmFest, or see if you can go to SAS, because if you're a student, you can apply for a travel stipend. You get amazing deals. I meet at least 10 speakers every time I go. So that's my story, and thank you so much for listening. And
Thank you so much. No, you're good. Thank you so much, Heather. It's so encouraging to meet God-fearing women who are standing up for our freedoms. And so blessings on you, Heather. The persecuted are blessed. Amen. So well done, Heather. Well, without further ado, I want to bring up Cary Poarch from Project Veritas. Cary is an amazing man that I met a few years ago at our Student Action Summit when he came out, and James O'Keefe introduced him and brought him out, and I remember the crowd going wild. And so we usually have like fireworks and things at our shows and like blaring music and stuff. I don't have that today, but if you guys could cheer real loud for Cary Poarch, come on up, bro. There we go.
Awesome. Give it up for Austin, okay? All right. And how is it doing in the back? Check, hearing me in the back and everything? You're good to go? I'm not like all up in the microphone. Okay, just a couple quick housekeeping things. I do want to give it up for the pastoral staff and the sound staff in the back. They are amazing. Please give it up for your staff. And thank you guys for your patience. I know it's my fault that we had to wait so long. They were working like running and sweat beads, trying to get all the right equipment. So you guys have an amazing staff here, and you should be thankful. I know I'm thankful as well. Another real quick thing, where is Dylan? Come on up here, son. I know there's no center aisle and stuff here. So, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Dylan real quick. Come on up, bud. All right, so obviously he's wearing the hat of the story that I did with Project Veritas. I think I've seen one or two out there as well. Hey, what's up, man? Awesome. But tell you what, you're 11, right? Yep. Where's your mom and dad at? Hey, mom. Hey, dad. Hey, dad. Hey, mom. Hey. Parental units. I just want to say great job on you guys, because I cannot imagine where I'm 38, and I cannot imagine where I'd be if I were like him at his age. So good on the parents and the community. He told me he wants to be an NFL player, so you guys got to get on that, taking to some camps and stuff. I know you're probably a little embarrassed right now. Sorry about that. But I do have a little gift for you, because I see myself in you, but you're ahead of the pack, okay? Who knows what retracto is? Retracto, the retraction alpaca. It's a little gift. I know it's a little stuff, but I just wanted to encourage you to stay on your path. You got an amazing future ahead of you, okay? Thanks, buddy. Give it up. All right. Who here does not know about Project Veritas? Maybe a couple. That's fine. That's cool. In a 30-second dump and everything like that, we are a nonprofit 501c3 fully tax-deductible organization, shameless plug, that basically goes and infiltrates organizations, whether they're media, government, education, military, pick your poison. And we get people to say on the record via hidden recordings and hidden camera devices their private positions that they don't want to make public. Now, this is a church family. What is it about, everything made secret is going to be made? Okay, that's what we do. You can imagine we make some friends along the way and a couple enemies, as you can imagine. We started in about 2010. James O'Keefe, the founder, started it on his credit card, and it was just him and another person. They remember Acorn? Anyone ever remember that story? That's our fault. And then it just grew and grew and grew. Instead of us going out and infiltrating places, whistleblowers like myself come find James and the team and, hey, I want to wear one of those cameras and do what you did. Now give it up for Heather as well. She's an amazing, courageous woman, right? All right. How many veterans we got in the audience? Awesome. Thank you as well. I'm a Navy guy myself. The reason I asked that is those of you like myself that have had either 1 tour or 17 tours of combat experience, nobody wants to be the first one through the door. Amen? Because you take a little heat, don't you? Heather, you take a little bit of heat, right? But you were the first one through the door, and then what happened? There you go. But someone had to start it, so thank you. But that's what we're doing here. So, nice red screen of death. This is me. This is my story in 2019. I want to take you guys along a journey with me. You guys have been more than patient, so I'm going to try to speed through it because I know we all want to get to the buffet, right? Oh, it's not that kind of church? Liars. I kid. You know how it is. But so here's what it is. Imagine, so I started at CNN in 2017. And it really, guys, was my dream job. I thought I landed the golden goose. I was going to retire. At the time, I was a registered Democrat, but avowed leftist. I would have fit in nicely outside these walls here. And to all the undercover Antifa members in the audience, I'd love to have a discussion with you afterwards. We are going to do a Q&A. Got to get past these big burly men with pigtails and stuff in the front, though. But it was my dream job, and this is amazing. I obviously had my own set of beliefs that you guys can kind of think of what they were at the time. But slowly but surely, I started to find out that news isn't reported, it's manufactured. But it's not overt unless you're looking for it. It's very subtle. They overtly, or most of the time, omit certain things, lies by omission. The thing that made me start to really question it, and we'll go into that, everybody remembers Charlottesville? Pretty bad day, right? I was part of the boots on ground team that covered that story. We were down there 5 hours after the first punch was thrown from the DC Bureau. And keep in mind, at the time, I totally did not like the current administration at that time or anyone like him, okay? Remember the good people on both sides speech? I saw that live, where he said there are good people on both sides, but not the neo-Nazis, the white supremacists, and et cetera, after he totally condemned them, right? Everybody remember that one? But what did you see on your TV that night? Good people on both sides, cut. Now, those extra 3 seconds, that's a pretty powerful piece of context. Would you not agree? Even myself and my beliefs at the time, I could still see that was something not right. I mean, I didn't like the guy at the time myself, but that's pretty powerful to leave that particular thing out and then broadcast that to millions of people, knowing you physically had to slice those 3 to 5 seconds off. That was a deliberate act. And that's what led me down the rabbit hole. Slowly but surely, Austin was saying about the frog and the thing, that's what happened to me. I didn't just, start here and then jump here. It was a slow shuffle, and sometimes back, and sometimes this. But that's what it was, and that's what a lot of our journeys are. You don't just change overnight. Your heart starts to change little by little, and then you become your new person. Check? So leading up, I met James O'Keefe at CPAC in 2019. I was working at the time with my CNN badge and credentials and everything like that. I knew who he was. I know what he did. I was scared as all get out. Because are my coworkers going to see me talking to the enemy? And honestly, I remember thinking, do I really want to talk to this man? Because like even then I knew having a discussion with this man could eventually lead to what you see. But I knew I had to talk to him because I was losing sleep, knowing that I was basically purposely misinforming millions on a daily basis. Like I wasn't the one cutting or broadcasting, or I wasn't the pretty face on TV, but I was part of the machine. And I was making pretty decent money. You know, my then girlfriend, now wife, was, you know, pregnant at the time. Am I really going to give up this good job with good benefits? Like, let me paint the picture for you. The way Dylan wants to be a professional football player, I wanted to be in politics. Maybe not a politician, but everything you guys see on TV, whether it's a congressional hearing room or the press briefing room at the White House lawn, anything you see on TV coming out of D.C., chances are I was behind the camera or behind the scenes somewhere in that. I was in the rooms day in and day out, in senators' homes, on their private multi-million-dollar ranches. That's another discussion. But I was there. I was in the room. I was in the presence of power and where decisions were made. Like, it was a very intoxicating job, for lack of a better word. Good pay, good benefits, amazing access. Did I really want to give that up? It got to the point where, yes. So this little video here, it was released on a Monday. My story was October 14, 2019. This was the Friday previous, and again, I just happened to be working this event. I was behind the camera, or behind the scenes at this very thing. Oops.
We're proud to announce the next insider who will blow the whistle. He's been recording for months. All of his colleagues, his bosses, his senior people. This may be the biggest story Project Veritas has ever broke. Next week, the next insider who will blow the whistle on the next organization is within CNN.
That was the Value Voters Summit. I highly recommend, if you guys are in D.C., in the fall each year, you go to it. It's a very cool event. But let's see. We recognize the guy on the right, correct? Good old James, the OG, the beast, mad scientist, genius. He's an amazing man, amazing leader. Like, anyone on his team, myself included, we would follow him to the gates of hell with a water pistol. He's that type of leader that leads from the front, okay? Anyone recognize this guy? He was the very first Project Veritas insider. He worked at Pinterest. He was a coder, making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. Okay? But that's minimum wage in San Francisco. Pretty close. But, so remember how I said that most times we would go to places and infiltrate? He was the first one to come to us. Now, he was in Pinterest. Now, get this. A real quick thing about Eric is he discovered, and Eric is a fireball person of faith. I mean, amazing. Like me, I'm trying to find my way back to faith, but this man is like rock solid, locked on, dialed on. He's fantastic. Very large pro-lifer. He found out that you weren't, who in here uses Pinterest? It's okay if you do. All the women. Got it. So, it's not a bad, no, it's okay. Not judging, just a little bit. So he found, you know how you can pin stuff to your board, like whatever you're interested in, like, hey, I want to find this recipe or this, whatever. Like, that's what Pinterest is. It's a really cool type of thing, honestly. He found out that you cannot search for Bible verses on Pinterest. Now, if you type in, like, the word Bible verses, like, it'll bring up Bible versus, like David versus Goliath, but it won't bring up verses. It'll bring up the Quran. And also, it blocks pro-life content, and guess how it does it? It categorizes pro-life content as pornography. Yeah, my reaction too. So this obviously didn't sit with him, and the same way I did, like, do I really want to give up all this to do that? I'm not going to say how much, but like, it wasn't just $100K. It was multiple six figures that this kid was making right out of Georgia Tech, right out of school. He couldn't sleep either. He found James. He didn't have to record anything. He just got a bunch of documents and data dumped it with the exact coding and stuff. Instant hero. He fell on his sword. He was the first one through the door. Now we've institutionalized whistleblowing. I was the third one. With each whistleblower, it gets better and better for the insider. Because why do people not want to come forward? Fear. Like, what's going to happen? If you Google whistleblowers, history of whistleblowers, it's not a pretty picture. They're ostracized. They're sued into bankruptcy and beyond. They're divorced, inevitable divorces. Their kids hate them. The world hates them. You're turned into a pariah. But what I love about James and Project Veritas is we have now, the word institutionalized, a whistleblowing pipeline. You come to us, we have a crazy big platform, reaches the world within seconds. And the cool part is we actually protect you on the back end. So I blew the whistle at CNN, which we'll find out in October last month of 2019, 2 years ago. I'm pretty sure I broke about 13 NDAs to do that. I was so scared I was going to get sued into oblivion. They still haven't come after me. And exactly what James said, he said this to me. He's like, Cary, the bigger and the faster your story goes, the less and less likely they will come after you. And that is exactly what happened. Can CNN come after me? I'm sure they could. They wouldn't want to give air to that fire. So that's what we do here. Now, of course, I can't guarantee everything, but think about that. If I would have just taken my story and tweeted it out or Instagram Lives or sent it to my opinion page at the Wall Street Journal or whatever, how quickly would I have been thrown under the jail? Or had a tragic accident where I may have shot myself in the back of the head twice with a shotgun. A little morbid, a little macabre, but you get what I'm saying, right? These are powerful people. Everything you see on your phones is dictated by companies like that. It's engineered. If you haven't seen the documentary on Netflix called The Social Dilemma, watch it. It will blow your mind. You think you're scrolling through something that you choose? It's by design. No one in here's got vertigo, do they? This is me walking up to the CNN Bureau, and as you can see, we also share the building with the Department of Education. I always call it the axis of evil. Hey, there's John King. Okay, cool. All right. And I had to get a picture with Wolf on my last day before I got fired. Side note, he was actually a great boss. He was a great person to work for. He gave us box seats and parking passes and Nats and the Wizards and everything. So he's really cool to kind of hang out with. Didn't see eye to eye politically, but he was a great boss. One of many. What I did is I was able to record people low, middle, and even the highest of the high in the food chain. Jeff Zucker, the CNN. Listen to what he's saying that was one of those things and check boxes that got me further and further, that little shuffle we referred to earlier.
And then morning, everybody. Okay, let's start with Washington, please. I don't care about the other stuff in the event. Okay, I don't care about them. Let's just stay very focused on impeachment.
My name is Cary Poarch. I'm a satellite uplink technician. I'm a contractor at the CNN Washington, D.C. Bureau.
But Jeff Zucker, basically president of CNN, has a personal vendetta against Trump. It's not going to be positive for Trump. He hates him. He's going to be negative.
I decided to wear a hidden camera. I decided to secretly record the 9 a.m. rundown call meetings, and it's basically run by Jeff Zucker, the president of CNN.
We're moving towards impeachment. I mean, we shouldn't pretend, this is going one way, and so all these moves are moves towards impeachment.
When I came to work at CNN, it was my dream job, and that dream actually just turned into a nightmare.
So I want to say I'm Lindsey Graham front. I know that there's a lot of people at CNN that are friendly with Lindsey Graham. Time to knock that off, and it's time to call him out. I think what's going on in America now is really fundamentally the result of years of fake news, conspiracy, nonsense from Fox News.
He was calling Fox false news, fake news, and a propaganda machine. And with what I saw, I'm like, that's pretty much what CNN was. Like, it's just pumping out propaganda.
The fake conspiracy nonsense that Fox has spread for years is now deeply embedded in American society, and frankly, that is destructive to America, and I do not think we should be scared to say so.
I just want them to own where they're at. Like, hey, if we lean left, cool, let's just say we lean left. If we lean right, let it be known. But again, it just dovetails back to that thing. I just want people to have the information to make up their own minds.
The guy here in the suit sounds like a okay, reasonable guy, right? I mean, yeah, it's funny, but like that's pretty much 98% of America. We just want to have the information as unbiased as we can present it to us for us to make up our own minds. Much like you, Pastor. I know you read from the book, here's what it is, and let them make up their own minds. Is that kind of fair? It's a fair statement? We don't want to twist it or do anything else or take things out of context or feed it a certain way because the people are too dumb to, take it the way it's written, right? That's all I wanted. Guess what? Myself, the team at PV, we don't care who you vote for at all. Our office is actually a true diverse office, not only the way we look, but the way we vote. We have hardcore liberals in our midst, hardcore Republicans, a bunch of angry libertarians, and in between. We truly are, what's the true diversity, right? Diversity of thought. And all these things where you go to work and stuff like yourself, Heather, and everything, like diversity and everything, but they want diversity of everything except up here. I mean, the lady that barked at Blake the other day at U of O, like, to be so weak in your stance that you can't even have a discussion, you just have to revert to your lizard brain and just go violently. I mean, to go right back to where we may have crawled out of the ocean, whatever you believe, but like to go revert back to that type of mentality because you can't handle words and ideas. I met a lot of people in here homeschooling their kids. I think that's fantastic, especially with what's going here. That's what I truly want to do with my personal daughter when she gets that age. We may or may not be able to do that financially. We're dang sure not sending them to public school. And we're in Florida. Oh, funny story as well. I know I am spoiled living in Florida. And I came up here in Oregon. It's just beautiful. Like it's majestic, and your forests and your mountains, rolling hill. Like it truly is God's country, right? And I'm from Colorado too, so I know what it's like to be in the wilderness and the beauty. But I was like, oh man, this is great, and I get goosebumps thinking about like this type of atmosphere, right? And then I step into Target. Because American Airlines lost my bag, and I have to go get, deodorant, toothpaste, and underwear, and everything like that. And I've been spoiled too long. I've been in Florida too long, because I step in, not having one of these on my face, and I get like 30 yards in, and this 80-year-old mask Nazi is chasing me down there, your mask. I was like, oh, crap. Yeah, that sounds better too. But I mean, I'm just thinking, like, I'm spoiled with where I am. I don't realize that people are struggling with this day to day, like you guys are. Like I was like, oh, Oregon is fantastic, and then I step in, I'm like, oh, here we go. It is what it is, but it's a fight back and forth, right? Anyways, I digress. I apologize.
When I came to work at CNN, I mean, it was my dream job. And that dream actually just turned into a nightmare. I approached the Project Veritas guys at CPAC this year, 2019, and I was honestly, Sean, I was about to quit at that time. It was about 2 years into my employment. I had honestly had enough. I lost so much sleep.
You approach James O'Keefe.
Yeah, I approached him, actually the Facebook Insider. I believe that's where they debuted that Insider. And it just spoke to me, and I decided to go forward and come find him. I decided to wear the camera because I didn't see any other option, because I noticed that I was in a very unique position in space and time to just do something to protect the Republic. I actually came to CNN a registered Democrat. I campaigned and voted for Bernie in the primaries of the 2016 election. I just want not only myself, but my child that comes in, my future wife, everyone. I just want us to have a free and fair election.
Is that too much to ask? Now, it is said, James has actually hypothesized this, and it's actually, if you think about it logically, it's pretty true, that the combination of media and big tech combined is more powerful than all three branches of our government combined. Like, how insane is that? That this little device can truly control what we are, who we, what we think, who we vote for, what we want to purchase. I'm sure we've all said something out loud, and then 17 minutes later we get an ad on our phone, right? Something that Eric actually told me a few times is the algorithms can predict with insane accuracy when you'll get a divorce. The algorithms know everything about you. It's a scary truth. But that's why we're fighting. That's why we have insiders like Eric in big tech, in media, and government. I'm only the third one that came through the door. We have about 13 or 14 active ones right now that went after me, and we still got dozens across various industries right now. That's what we do. Let's see what Jeff had to say again. Oh, this is so that Friday, remember the whole hey, we're going to expose CNN, right? James is a master showman, so the whole weekend he was burning up Twitter, just flooding it with hey, Monday, 12 p.m., hashtag expose CNN, sell your friends, and blah, blah. It was just, those of you that remember, it was a little much, right? It's but this is what we did. So this is the 9 a.m. rundown call of the actual morning that the story was going to be released. Yeah, I went to work that day. Sweating bullets. People often ask me, man, were you scared? I was terrified. Because I was on the top floor, the 11th floor, and we literally had large men with guns for our security. And these are some powerful people. And the funny part, before we get to this, James yeah, why don't you just stay at work? It would be great content to see what happens when they come to your desk. I'm no. I'm going to take a long lunch, and I'm GTFO for those of you who know what's going on, right? But this is the 9 a.m. call. This is probably one of my favorite parts.
Number three, I want to acknowledge that I know many of you have seen these tweets from Project Veritas and what's going on with them. Obviously, we are unsure of what that's about, and here's the deal. Let's just do our jobs and not worry about it, okay? And I am unconcerned, and what we need to do is just do our job, and let's focus on what's at hand, because there's a ton of news going on.
You have the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar, multinational news conglomerate talking to his entire business across the world. Anyone with a CNN email address can log into this every day. But you've got that type of man with that type of reach who's so unconcerned about these tweets that he has to broadcast to the whole business about how unconcerned he is and how unconcerned you should be. And it's all going to blow over, and he's just unconcerned. He's concerned, as he should be.
Okay, I don't care about him. Let's just stay very focused on impeachment, always.
Quick piece of context, the MSNBC event. Remember, in all fairness to Jeff and the business, impeachment is a big story. Only happened, 3 or 4 times in the history of our republic, right? It's a big story, fair enough. But the world keeps turning regardless of who's sitting in the chair. The MSNBC event, he was referring to, remember Congresswoman Gabby Giffords? The one who got shot in a bullet lodged in the brain in Arizona, barely survived. Amazing story of grit and willpower and just will to survive, right? Her husband's, I think, now in Congress, or he was, but great, amazing story of achievement, right? She was doing a kind of a gun control type rally in Arizona. So it's a pretty powerful piece of news to someone that barely survived, a crazed person with a gun. But no, let's not blow that off. Let's have all 1,000 of our reporters on impeachment. It's Jeff, you can't send 2 or 3 guys out there to cover a pretty compelling human interest story, regardless of what you believe about guns. That's a pretty compelling story. That's kind of a little piece of context. Oops.
Number 3. Okay, I don't care about him. Let's just stay very focused on impeachment. All these moves are moves towards impeachment. Just a couple overall notes. Impeachment is the story. I know we're going to have a tendency to think we're doing too much, but it's the story.
He said it, not me. Doing too much, right? Remember a couple slides ago when he's saying that, hey, another news network was responsible for the destruction of America? Like, whatever news channel you choose to watch, that's fine. But to call your competitor responsible for destruction of America, there's a saying that we have that in psychology called projection through, through projection, basically calling someone else what you are. It's weird. I'm a psych major and I can't remember what that is right now. It's just ironic. But the thing is, like about Fox and OAN and all those things, remember I was on Hannity's show, super nice guy. He even said on a clip that you didn't see, like, hey, I'm a conservative. We do news from a conservative point of view. Like, you know how much respect I have for Sean and the cast over there? They own where they're at publicly. Like, hey, this is news from a conservative point. Awesome. I now know as a consumer that that's the lens that I am consuming that content. CNN purports to be center of the road, the most trusted name in news. Sorry, I know I have a really awful James Earl Jones. But the thing is, if you purport to be center of the road, but then you obviously tilt a certain way, you're deceiving your audience. MSNBC and the others, they totally own where they are at. So does Fox. I actually respect MSNBC and the other left-leaning outlets because they own it. Like, cool, I know exactly what I'm getting in the point of view. Okay? That's what it should be. Now, this is actually one of my favorite people and one of my, what's the word I'm looking for? Not regret is the word I'm looking for, but I wish I could have gotten content another way because this is one of the best men I knew, and I had to get the content from him. But you'll see why in a second.
We don't, even though we're totally left-leaning, we don't want to admit it. We could be so much better than we are. I'm not super thrilled with what we do on our air anymore. I haven't listened to 9 AM call in about 15 years.
Okay.
I just stopped.
Well, I mean, you obviously know what you're doing at this point, too.
I can't listen to it. Yeah. It's all bullshit. It's all just a bunch of bullshit. Well, and you learn that in journalism school. We're supposed to be middle of the road. That's our job. Now it's just infotainment. That's all it's become.
Patrick Davis, 25-ish year veteran at CNN, runs the whole field operation. Technically my boss about 3 or 4 levels up. But this is a guy that tuned out over a decade and a half ago to those 9 AM calls because he saw what it was doing. Now, the thing is that people want me to dog on CNN all the time, and I have my issues for obvious reasons, but CNN is responsible for a lot of the technological advancements that we have in news, from, drone footage and like the perfect camera angles and like the way it would truly bring people together. Like, remember the old days? If you saw those red and white letters, could be considered not gospel, but it's pretty true, right? It was in airports and hotel rooms. What did it devolve into as soon as a certain person was running for office? That's what angered Patrick and many others. That he's not the only one. He was just the most prominent one I was able to get on camera. And now I'm not ever going to be on his Christmas card list again. I mean, you guys laugh, but it's another peril of whistleblowing, as Heather, I'm sure, has found out, is you find out who your true friends are immediately. About 70-80% of my friends list on Facebook evaporated. I was married once before, full disclosure. 2 to 3 of the people that were in my party don't talk to me anymore. I lost 20, 25 plus year friendships over this. That to me was the hardest price to pay. Because all those years I invested in these friendships over the years, politics never divided us, except for the last couple years. And like, how dare you do this? And you, like, basically, they think I kicked their puppy. That was the hardest part. Like that, I still get every once in a while like an angry text message or a direct message, and telling me I can go do whatever to myself and with my mother, and fill in the blanks and stuff like that. But I tell you what, 98+% of the messages I still receive to this day are much like you guys, that like, hey, thanks for doing what you did. That's what keeps me and the other whistleblowers going, is like the messages that come through on Twitter, Instagram, and everywhere else. Is like, we always knew it. You're doing the right thing. Like Heather, one man or one woman with courage is a majority. It only takes one.
I want to acknowledge that I know these tweets from Project Veritas.
CNN says like they want to portray the contrast, but really it's partly because like conflict is what sells. Nobody wants to hear 1 minute canned statements.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Yeah, it's great. It's
conflict. You get Craig clicks, get more money. Craig clicks, get more money.
Yikes. So it's not about the news anymore, is it? Like, what keeps you glued to your phone? Conflict, or as the kids say, drama. We want to see who's going to set themselves on fire and go into a building, right? We want to see what happens. The dirtier, the better. The more salacious, the better. The more you get what I'm saying. Like, no one wants to just hear the news because it doesn't sell. It's not sexy for news speak. It's like it's not going to sell. It's not going to get clicks. People often ask me, like, how do I know which news program to watch? That's up to you guys. I'm not here to sway one way or the other. We're a nonprofit. We actually expose CNN. We expose Fox News in Houston. We go after everybody if there's corruption. We've gotten a couple registered Republicans put into jail because they voted twice in New Hampshire. One as the gentleman's name, and one when he was dressed as a woman to go vote a second time. Hey, you do you, but once you cross the thing called the law. So, but that's what it is. It's all about money these days. Every year there's a meeting in the fall where they have the pretty people you see on TV, the Cuomos, well, not after today. Cheap shot, I know, but it's like, I'm not going to comment on that. So, but you have the people you see on TV, before today, the Cuomos, the Andersons, the Brian Stelters, everyone, they go and they basically pitch themselves to the networks that, hey, we're advertiser friendly, please spend money with us. Now think about it this way. How much do you think a journalist like that makes per year without Googling? I hear 3 million. Too much, that's actually correct. I mean, hey, I'm a rabid capitalist myself, however. So again, so Anderson, for example, and again, it's never been confirmed one way or the other, but it's estimated between 15 and 25 million a year. Everyone you see on TV pretty much makes at least 7 figures. And that's on all the networks. It's not just CNN, it's everybody. Again, that's what the market does. That the market tells people that talking heads are worth that much. I'm not here to dispel that. But once you get to a certain level, land of the riches, and I'm sure I remember the Old Testament is littered with stuff like that, with like all the riches you can have and stuff like that. Who's to tell me with a straight face that if I'm making, let's just say 10 million a year, 12, we're making $1 million a month, right? You don't think that's going to alter my mindset or state of being? I'm not going to cut corners to see what sponsors I can get if I say this versus that. Again, they can make what they want to. The market decides that. But I mean, when you really start putting things into perspective, now here's what we really want to talk about. And you can Google this and research it as well. All these hundreds and hundreds of media companies, radio stations, local newspapers, if you follow the money, they're owned by about 5 to 7 corporations. That is terrifying. Now, I'm being flagged down. We're going on a little time, so here we go. Thank you, Austin.
Want to acknowledge that I know these tweets from Project Very.
All right, so the story's running wild, getting on all the major networks, Fox, OAN, Federalist. It's pretty weird to see your face everywhere. It's pretty nuts. Now here, real quick, who uses Twitter or knows how to use it? Cool, awesome, more than last time. Okay, so it starts running. The then press secretary, Ms. Grisham, tweets a story. Cool, whoa, okay, cool, all right. Boom, more networks. A few hours later, Don Jr. tweets it. Oh, it's pretty weird seeing your face on a Don Jr. tweet. And then, of course, we didn't have the screenshot at the time, but then, of course, a few hours later, the then president himself tweeted it. And I'm just, like, freaking out, just like, oh, my God, the master troll on Twitter my face is on his tweet, and I'm like, is this even real life, okay? Remember, we want to expose it. Our work, our teamwork in this story is still to this day cited in a lawsuit, Trump v. CNN, for the bias. So that's what we can do. That's the power of what we can do. You get people on tape with their lips moving, saying the thing out loud that they keep in private. That's the powerful thing. People ask me, what can we do? It's like, oh, well, you can vote harder, of course. You can fund the people that do the work, or you can come do the work with us. Okay, I know we're on negative time, so here's the final thing here. Don't worry, I'm not here asking for a tithing plate or anything like that. But people ask us, what can we do? I'm here, obviously, to share my story, but I'm here looking for you. Like, I was just some guy that saw something bad happening and wanted to do something about it. Every person in this room, if you don't see anything, which is fine, most people don't, every person, every one of you, is 3 degrees of separation or less away from the next bombshell story. You either know something, or you know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that knows something. That's what we're looking for. We have 13 to 15 public whistleblowers right now. In the next 2 years, we want to turn that over to 100. And then by the end of the decade, we want that to be 1,000 plus. So that's why the Turning Point is having me come out, Project Veritas is sending me out, because we can't do this without you guys. The real stories are in this audience, either right where you're sitting or in your circles, all over the country. Heck, I mean, I'm in Oregon. There's a lot of stuff out here. No offense. I mean, I'm in Florida, and there's even more corruption in Florida, okay? But everybody knows something or knows someone that knows something. And whether or not you want to come find me tonight, that's fine. We're going to do a short Q&A afterwards, but I just want to plant the seed. Maybe that's all we're doing tonight, or maybe someone else will come behind me and water the crop, okay? But that's what we're looking for. And the real power to change policy is when we broadcast the private stuff out loud. That's what I'm asking you to ponder about and pray about and stuff like that. Again, thank you guys so much for your time and patience with everything. You guys are fantastic. I'm going to take a couple minutes and do that, and then we're going to do a Q&A. Is that cool? Are we good? Fair enough.
Again. Cary, thank you so much. I want to honor you guys. Yes. Yeah, thank you so much, Cary. Yeah, this is awesome, man. It's an honor to bring you out here, man, and to encourage others to stand up and be brave. And so, really quick, I want to take a couple minutes, or just a few minutes here. I want to bring everyone together to take a quick group photo. So those flyers that you have on your on the seats, pull those up. If the students can come up here too, if that's okay with you guys, to have the students come up to the front, would that be okay with you guys? Okay. So let's have the students just come up here, because I'd love to have the students in the front of the room here. And then stand up with the pictures. If you guys can bring it in tight too, that would be awesome. This will be a great photo to send to Turning Point. If you don't want your face, just cover your face with the flyer, if you will. And then Cary, you want to get down in there as well? Cool. Yeah, come on over, guys. And then after this, I want to have Pastor Lou come up and share as well, because I know this is his church, and I want him to come up and share what's on his heart as well. So, Okay, really quick, I'm going to take this group photo. Yeah, hold those all up here. Get the zoom going. Okay, here we go. Cary's right there. Perfect. 3. Oh, yeah, here, get on in here. Get on here. Squeeze in here. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Boom, boom, boom. Love it. Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Let's give it up for Pastor Lou as he comes up here. An amazing one of the few pastors with a backbone around here. I go to Athey Creek, so Pastor Brett has a spine as well. So thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
Well, we just want to welcome everybody here and still thankful for you being here. And, it's going to take stick-to-itiveness to change things in our state. How many of you know that? And I happen to believe, and I've said this for many years, and I've said this before, is that I believe that all the stupid that goes into the United States comes through Oregon. And this is the project of how we can bring about things throughout the United States. And we've got to bring that change here of what we're going to do differently. And I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again, is it isn't an issue of politics. It's not. Because it isn't going to matter whoever gets in the office. There's always going to be shenanigans. How many of you know that? Because there's people. And as long as there's people, there's going to be problems. Because at the end of the day, this is a moral issue. I mean, he stands up and he exposes that because he couldn't stomach the morality of it. Or the immorality, I should say, immorality of it. And the same thing is with the other whistleblowers, is because they don't like the immorality. And so, we have got to ourselves begin to examine our own heart of what our intentions are and why we want to do things differently. When we did the Let Freedom March, it had to do with bringing groups together so that we could have a voice as Oregonians, not just simply everybody doing their own little tiny thing. And so we're known as a radical church. How many of you know that? And I happen to believe that we're actually a thorn in the side of everything that's going on here all the way around, and I don't have a problem with that. I believe churches need to grow a pair, you know what I'm saying? Because the fruit of the Spirit is essential, so you need to grow a pair. You'll get it later. He said that, talk about, we have our own university here. We started our own school here because, of all the shenanigans. There's things that are going on. There's infiltration that's going on even in Christian schools of being able to teach certain things to where pastors are coming out and they're no longer pastors of the word. They're pastors of opinion. And there's an agenda. And so we have our own school here. One of the parts of our school is that we're going to end up having a school of government so that we can raise up young men and women with morals, and then also constitutionally, so when they run based off of the Constitution, not just a bunch of feelings. That's why it's called River Impact University. It's not just a Bible school. It is a school to empower for our community. Because if the church isn't impacting the community, then why is the church there? And to say churches shouldn't be involved in politics, you've got another thing coming, because that removes the whole Constitution, which is that who are the people? I mean, who's the government? We are the people. So as soon as you say that, who's the church? Is the people. So I'm sorry to say, you cannot get people out of the government. So church is going to be involved whether they like it or not. Amen? And so around here, we like it. And I really appreciate Val in giving up his night. This is a night that we have the constitutional class. Every Wednesday night, we have our constitutional class here. If you think you know your Constitution, you don't know your Constitution. And how many of you know it's even important, even more so now than ever before, to know what you are standing for? 3 of you, wonderful. The rest of you need to come on Wednesday night so you know what you're standing for. Really, this place should be packed out on a Wednesday night so people can learn what their Constitution is. It's the absolute truth. We got to get rid of the apathy out of Oregon. How many of you would agree with that? So thank you for coming. I could preach a message and have an altar call, but I'm not going to do that. That's for Sunday morning. If you're going, listen, I'm gonna say this and then I'll be done. If you're going to a church that's following all of the things that the government is saying to do, why are you going there? You need to belong someplace that's going to empower you to be the American that God has called you to be. Are you hearing me? You need to be someplace that empowers you. Despite Reddit's belief, we don't rip masks off of people when they walk through the foyer. All right, you're welcome to come in here. If you wear a mask, ain't nobody going to tell you to take it off. Are you hearing what I'm saying? You're free to come in here as you want, but we're going to worship the Lord in the way that God wants us to as individuals. I tell people I don't have a problem with you coming in with one as long as you don't have a problem with me not wearing one. How many of you know we all have that right? And, you need to support these groups. You need to support these groups and these efforts, these things that are going on. And, stop supporting things that are stupid. No, I'm serious. Stop supporting things that are stupid. The candidates that are running that have a real moral position, you need to support those candidates. And we have some here in the house tonight, and you can get to know them. Amen. Love Angela Plowhead. Amen. Love you both, actually. I didn't see you sitting there. I'm so sorry. It's so wonderful. And so we have all these things, all these resources that are going on. And so educate yourself. Did you hear what I said? Educate yourself. For a long time, I've been behind the pulpit preaching politics for a long time, and people, they would say, Pastor, you're so political. Just chill out and just preach the gospel. And I'd say, but this is what's coming. And I got to prepare you for what is coming, or else I'm failing you as a pastor. And so when all this came down, our people weren't like, oh my God, what's happening? They were all like, Pastor, what you said is the truth. Absolutely, you can play that. I want to pray. And I don't care what your religious affiliation is, because Jesus doesn't care about your religious affiliation. He didn't die on the cross because you're a Presbyterian. Are you hearing me? He died on the cross because he loves people. This is where I get very emotional, because if everybody understood how much he actually loves everyone. See, I wasn't raised in churchianity. The only reason I'm a pastor is because I love people. I can't even stand church. I hate church, actually. If I had to go to church to make it to heaven, I'd just slit my own wrist and just make an express shot and get there. But it has nothing to do, that has to do with loving one another. And all of us have failings in our life. So it doesn't matter what your religious affiliation is. It's whether you have that relationship with him or not. Whether that relationship is genuine, whether you're perfect or not. It has nothing to do with your perfection. It has to do with your pursuit. I said I wouldn't preach, but I'm preaching. Because I can feel it. I can feel in the room that people are looking for something that is genuine. Something that is real. And I'm sorry that church has let you down. And I'm sorry that preachers didn't have enough to stand up, enough backbone to stand the ground. Even those that stayed open, but yet refused to get into the middle of the fray. Because there's those that stayed open, but they refused to get in the fray because they're scared of Antifa burning down their church. I'm not afraid of Antifa. When Antifa attacked us in Portland, we went to them and said, give me a big hug, I love you. And they didn't know how to handle that. No, it's a true story. I'm not afraid of Antifa, I'm not afraid of FBI. We've had the FBI in our meetings. We've had the state send in their spies into our meetings. Who cares? Who gives a rip? What are they going to do, kill me? They can't. I'm going to heaven. When it's my time, it's my time. Then somebody else is going to stand up here and begin to preach also. Amen? So we're going to pray. I just want you to pray this with me. Jesus, I give you my whole heart, my whole life. And I'm so thankful that you died on the cross and shed your blood that I could be forgiven. And I receive your forgiveness right now, that I'd never be the same. In Jesus' name, amen. Now I'm going to pray for you. Father, right now in the name of Jesus, I pray for every person in this room and even those that are online that would be watching. And I pray, God, that your blessing would come upon them, mighty God. Lord, that you would empower them to speak up and to be bold by your Spirit, God. Lord, that you would move upon them with compassion and love for their neighbor in a way that they've never felt before. And Father, that you would teach us how to walk in forgiveness to those who have offended us. We release all these things to you. We're so thankful, Lord, for the opportunity that we have to still meet openly. We thank you for that. And we'll take advantage of it, Lord. And we'll use it to the fullness to advance your kingdom. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Just regarding Wednesday night, since this is our normal night, right? If any of you would like to restart with us, after the first of the year, we're going to restart the Chris Ann Hall videos. She had, even if you came at the beginning when we started these before, most of her videos have been remade now, and she is in the process of remaking more of the ones that we would be going forward with. But we're at the end of this month, we'll be finishing up all of the ones that are currently available on her website. So the first of the year would be a great time to start here. And if you are a student, we would love to have you participating, because our young people need to know the kind of stuff that Chris Ann is teaching us. So it's on Wednesday nights at 7 o'clock.
Hey, thank you. Hey, really quick, just wanted to say one last thing. If you hadn't signed up on the graphic, there's a little QR code that's like a Google form. If you haven't signed up for that, on your way out, there'll be some students with the phone boards with the QR code. If you could just fill that out, that helps us in Turning Point know that, hey, there was people here supporting us. There's also like get involved cards on the table out there. The students will be out there, and there's pens and cards if you want to do it the old-fashioned way and just put your name and email. And that way we can let you know about other events that we're doing in the area. When Turning Point Faith has events that they're doing, we'll send out a mass email, and so you guys will be able to know about that. I promise we don't flood your guys' inboxes. Just every time there's like an event here in Oregon, we want to let you guys know about it. So yeah, thanks again. Did you want to say one last thing? Okay, yeah.
I didn't forget you, Joey. I just moved on. John Ray. Thank you for you sitting there. All right. I can say those things, by the way, here, because we're not 501c3, by the way. So I can say everything I want. All right? We can actually have politicians here, the whole 9 yards, because we're not 501c3. Yeah.
Hey, with that said, again, thank you guys so much. Thank you, Pastor Lou. Thank you, River Church. Thank you, everyone that got everything together. Feel free to come talk to Cary and ask him questions afterwards. I want to respect your guys' time, and so feel free to talk to us. I know people are going to be hanging out around here, so blessings, you guys. Thank you so much. And give it up one more time for Cary Poarch. Thank you, man. Appreciate you.